Ammon is one of the most important Egyptian gods and the most famous of all. He is the god of Thebes and the head of its triad and the member of the octonary of El-Ashmonin. He merged with god Ra under the name Ammon-Ra, and by that, Ammon was tied to the creed of the sun and took over the position of the principal god of the state since the 12th dynasty, and remained like that most of the parts of the ancient Egyptian history. There are many opinions regarding the nature of the name of Ammon and its origin, for the word Iman has appeared in the ancient Egyptian language as a verb that means to hide or to disappear. The word Iman has come also as an adjective to mean the hidden or the secretive or the absent. It was written mostly in the same way the verb was written. The word Iman was used in the Old Kingdom era as an adjective meaning the right or the western, and also points to the right side, considering the word is a name. God Ammon has derived his name from the adjective of the invisible, which expresses the nature thus embodied in his role as one of the members of the octonary of El-Ashmonin for the first time, and that's according to what was mentioned in the Pyramids texts. The name of Ammon has appeared for the first time in the time of the Middle Kingdom on two panels from the 11th dynasty. One of them was found in the tomb of King Entef'a in the area of El Gorna as the word Per Ammon, which means the house or temple of Ammon. As for the second stele, which belongs to King Entef Hanch or Entef II, a chant was recorded on it and directed to Goddess Hathor and God Ammon. The stela was found in the cemetery of Dera Abul Naga and is kept today in the Metropolitan Museum in New York. God Ammon took the form of a human whose head is topped by a crown composed of two vertical reeds. He has also appeared with a human body and a ram's head, for the ram was a sacred animal of God Ammon. Sometimes he takes the shape of God Min, the god of fertility, and in other times he appears in the geese form. His cult started in Armant and flourished in Thebes. He was mentioned in the Pyramids texts as an eternal god, for he was connected with the octonary of El-Ashmonin. His cult has extended to include the whole Egyptian land, being a state god. He was also associated with god Zeus of Greece. A merge has happened between Ammon and Ra, starting from the 11th dynasty. This has appeared for the first time on the stele of King Entef Hanch or Entef II. He was also mentioned in more than a place in the reliefs of the temple of King Montuhotep II Nebhebet Ra to earn the adjectives of Ra and his powerful position amongst people, and to have himself accepted and his nature as being Ra is understood. As a sun god, it was difficult for people to understand the meanings of hidden and absence and ambiguousness, which his name symbolizes. Frankfurt suggests that the reason behind the merge between Ra and Ammon is due to the nature of Ammon as a god of air. For the creative power in air and the sun is the same, and that elevating Ammon-Ra to the stage of the greater god Ra was on the basis that there isn't a force or a power in the universe that can match merging the sun with the air. Nevertheless, the adjective of Ammon as a god of air wasn't related to him until the New Kingdom era. The two upper reeds, acting as a crown above god Amon's head, and which appeared in the Middle Kingdom, do not express him as being a god of air, as Frankfurt has suggested. For the two known gods of air, called Shu and Inmeret, didn't have them. Neither did the deities that fly, like Hur and Monto. On the other hand, other deities shared among these two high reeds, like Gadmin and Osiris, and neither of them was an air god. For Gadmin was a primary god of fertility, and Osiris was a god of resurrection, and had some adjectives of fertility. Accordingly, Amon has taken from Gadmin the image of the two high vertical reeds above his head, for Amon was connected to him in the Middle Kingdom, and took his fertile form, in which he appears as a man wearing a tight cloak, while his erected penis stands out, and his arm is raised with a whip of 3 braids. The headdress is composed of a hood and the two high vertical reeds. In addition to the merge between god Amon and Gadmin in the form, this merge reached the qualifications and the special titles of both deities in an idiom called syncretisms, which means the merge, which is a phenomenon that some scientists try to interpret regarding the location's relation between Kafd and Thebes, and they made of that neighborhood a reason to the existence of a relationship between the two deities. On the other hand, the priests of the new god Amon wanted to apply some cosmic characteristics to their local god to qualify him to carry on the role of the formal god of the country, and that was with the beginning of the Middle Kingdom. Thus, they added to his name the ancient cosmic name of God Ra, and chose for him the adjectives and the titles of the fertility god Min, so that he can play his same vital role in achieving the continuity of the cycle of time, which is the main factor of life in the universe, and through which he can earn sovereignty over the universe. It's quite interesting that god Amon, before merging with Ra or Min, didn't have a specific appearance to distinguish him, for he had all the royal adjectives and characteristics of the universal sovereignty of a sun god. He acquired his human form by being connected with god Ra, while getting his fertile form by being connected with god Min. This means that if Amon-Ra is deprived from the shape and characteristics and titles of god Min, and from the name and adjectives of the sun god Ra on the other side, he'll have nothing left to distinguish him. This shows the importance of the merging which started to appear starting from the Middle Kingdom, for it has contributed in creating a new entity in whom gathers all the factors of power and sovereignty and efficiousness, who is Amon-Ra in Min form, or Amon-Ra Kamut F. It's also noticeable that the name Amon-Ra joins between two contradicting things. They are the invisibility of Amon and the appearance of Ra in one entity. It seems that this has a direct relationship with the role of god Min, who joins or makes transition of the universe from the stage of death, which is connected to darkness and secrecy expressed by Amon, to the birth stage, which is connected to the light and elevation upwards with the sun god Ra. It's worth mentioning that the sources of the beginning of the Middle Kingdom in Thebes, which has mentioned for the first time the name and form of the new god of the state, was keen on associating the sexual form with god Amon or Amon-Ra, without indicating God Min. That is found on the walls of the temple of Neb-Hebit-Ra and the chapel of Sesostris I in Karnak. The early sources revealed for the first time directly, and thus on the walls of the chapel of Sesostris I in Karnak, the title of Ka-Mut-F, which is a title that expresses the role of god Amun-Ra as being a god of fertility. The expression of Ka-Mut-F means the bull of his mother, while its meaning proves the great importance of the idea of fertility and regeneration of life and birth of the human, and in all factors of the universe of animals and plants. The significance of Ka-Mut-F is so old and spread in the ancient Egyptian religion, and that's what made the ancient Egyptians deal with that expression as an independent embodiment of the fertility god. The Egyptians had expressed their thoughts about the relation that connects 3 generations of one divinity through what Amun does in his feast when he visits the octonary dwelling in Habu city each 10 days, and which expresses the 3 generations of Amun, and that happens through the concept of Ka-Mut-F. The texts of the 18th dynasty in Habu city tell that Amun's title is the father of fathers and the grandfather of the octonary. In addition to Amun the grandfather, who represents the first generation, the texts tell about a second generation of the same god, when Amun is impersonified in a serpent figure under the name of Ir-Ta, which means the earth creator. That serpent is described as the father of the octonary, which means that Amun in the figure of a serpent is the earth creator and the son of Amun, the grandfather, and the father of the octonary. It's noticed that the second generation of Amun conforms totally with the advantages and characteristics of god Betah Ta'tinin, or Betah the master of the 2 lands. Amun in his second generation usually took the sexual form of god Min and is called Amun im Ibit, or Amun in Luxor, and he is the same god who heads in a procession from Luxor temple across the Nile to Habo in the west bank, where he presents offerings to his father Amun and to his children of the octonary. The religious imaginations of the ancient Egyptians picture a 3rd generation of god Amun, represented in the octonary as his children. God Amun himself is one of the members of El Ashmonin octonary, but these are the children of Amun im Ibit, the father of the octonary, which is his title. This octonary had a helping role to him in completing the creation operation, for they have created the light and the sun Ra. Amun im Ibit was described as Hur, son of Iza, or Isis, and here he represents a 3rd generation and a last one within the frame of the 3 generations of Amun. According to Zita, he comes here as a son of Amun im Ibit too, and the grandson of Amun, who is a grandfather Amun Kim Etev, and that's within the context frame of Ka-Mut-F of god Amun. The connection to the concept of fertility is what facilitated for God Ammon in Egypt to carry on his role in connecting between the three generations, the father or the great-grandfather, and the husband and the child, and therefore his visits to his ancestor's grave serve the purpose of joining between the different periods of time, the past, the present, and the future, which are embodied through three generations. The purpose of the connection of Ammon with the title of Kamut F is to connect him with the concept of fertility, which confirms the self-existence of the god, which makes Ammon a joining ring between his three generations, and thus connects him with the three creation theories that preceded him. So it connects him with God Ptah in the theory of creation of Memphis, and with God Ra in the theory of creation of Ain Shams, and finally the octonary of Ashmonin in the theory of creation of El Ashmonin. It's proof that the merging relation between Ammon and Ra and Min was not a coincidence or a result for the neighboring location of their two centers of their cults, which are Kaft and Thebes. But it seems that behind this relation are strong religious impulsives and political motives, which all led to the idea that the formal god of the country wanted to impersonify the ancient god of fertility in his form and characteristics and titles, claiming by that his ability to perform his same vital role in the universe, to confirm by that his worthiness to be the Lord of the universe and the King of gods. Ammon has taken also the ordinary human form, either standing or sitting, as he was pictured in the shape of a man standing and opening his legs, with one hand stretched beside his body, and holds the symbol of life Ankh, while his other arm reaches forward and holds the scepter of ruling and the was or the power. He has the same head ornament as humans, and wears a short kilt and a belt around his waist. A bull's tail hangs from his back, and he wears a broad collar around the neck, and his divine beard is bent forward. Ammon has adopted other fertility forms, like the male goose Semen and the ram Shefit. Through all these factors, it's confirmed that the connection of Ammon-Ra with the fertility adjective had its important political and religious reasons, and was a reflection to the priest's urge of confirming the supremacy of the new god over the universe. The Theban triad, which god Ammon-Ra shared with goddess Mut as a wife and a mother, and god Khonsu as a son, has clearly embodied that idea, in which choosing the divine factors in it was meant to be shared with god Ammon, performing his vital role in the universe.